Hi, my name is Lacey Bowman, and I'm a senior at CBU. And this course, ECH 455, along with one other, are my last two for my bachelor's degree in early childhood studies. So I'm very excited about that, and I really enjoyed doing the Capstone assignment for this course, which included the literature review. For my assignment and for my topic, I chose the effects of trauma during early childhood years. So this was a very interesting topic, and one that I know is very pertinent and is gaining more and more spotlight attention in the education world. So that was the main reason I chose this topic. I also chose this topic because it's one that's very close to my heart. I have experienced early childhood trauma. My mother passed away when I was 4, and I found her when she had passed away. And I went to live with my dad, who was abusive, and then I was placed in foster care by age 9. From 9 to 18, I went through various placements and experienced different traumatic events throughout that. So in my early childhood studies assignments, I'm usually always trying to learn more to help other children, but also to assess my own development and behavior and kind of gauge where I'm at in the healing process, I guess, if you will. So that was the reasons I chose to pursue this topic for the assignment. So then the next part of it was the literature review. And in my paper, I wanted to do more than just spotlight the known connections between early childhood trauma and psychological disorders. So I broke my paper down into research that supported the effects on the early childhood range, in adolescence, and in adults. And then I also included a section on trauma-informed instruction for what educators can do, being that anywhere from 1/2 to 2/3 of your classroom will be comprised of students who have unfortunately experienced a traumatic event in at least one area, with a smaller percentage experiencing 2 or more. So this will definitely come through in your classroom, in behavior and in interactions, and even in the interactions with your the families that you come in contact with. So I thought these were very important areas to spotlight, and so those were what consisted in my paper. And there were some very interesting findings I found in the research. One being in the area of adolescence. One specific paper I reviewed made an argument for not allowing adolescents to be charged as an adult in some cases, which can be quite a controversial topic. But they pointed out the developmental differences, the connection that many of these perpetrators, youthful ones, experience childhood trauma, and how trying them as an adult and introducing them into an environment that is made for adults can negatively impact the rest of their outlook for life. So I thought that was very interesting, in that it focused more on intervention and counseling and seeing what we can really do. And in the area of trauma and informed education, there really is still kind of controversy around that as well, that it kind of might normalize that behavior, and there's just truly not enough research done, right? And as Christians, we know that the only true healing, and I know this personally, that we can offer is through Jesus Christ. And I find that to be the most difficult part of going into teaching in a public school and a system that rages against religion and Christianity. I find that to be the most frustrating part, is that we can only serve a portion of the student and not a whole child, even though that is the argument made much, is it's the whole child approach, but they leave the soul out. So that is difficult. But yes, so that was the basis of my literature review portion of the capstone assignment. And then the next part was the connection to the coursework. So obviously, as an early childhood studies major, every single class I've taken, trauma affects, right? So especially because the majority of traumatic events occur in children ages 0 to 5, which is very much within the early childhood range. So that means it's affecting development in each of those areas, especially social emotional, the issues of attachment, the processing, the cognitive processing abilities and capabilities of these young children is often what is experienced in classrooms with emotional and behavioral outbursts from these children who have experienced it. It also has pointed to the spiritual needs of these students and all students, and what we can, the most we can do, and to be prayerful in our instruction and interactions with these children, and to constantly be vigilant to prevent any further trauma that may not be reported yet. And then the last portion was the connection to our practice, which again goes so hand in hand with our coursework, because early childhood, that's been a tiny bit of a frustrating thing for me, is that I planned to be a elementary school teacher. So early childhood only goes to age 8, and a majority of the coursework centers on preschool students, which is totally understandable. So I found some of the coursework to be a tiny bit lacking on the upper 6 to 8 year old range of early childhood, because that's where I viewed myself being. But recently I've also, as I'm literally a week and a half away from starting my credential program, finding myself second guessing that and moving towards the possibility of taking a pause in that goal and homeschooling my own children, who have 2 boys, and they're 7 and 8, and one has special needs and one does not. And I love them so much, and I realized that the past few years they've not really seen me. They've had people who have watched them for 10 hours a day, including the school, and I see that it's not done them well, and it's not done our family well, and that before I can justify championing, there we go, the health and safety and development and interactions of other students, I need to first do that with my own. So I think I'm going to be homeschooling my children. We have a 2nd and 3rd grade, so it's a long way to go, but I feel pretty peaceful about that, and I do think that my experience during this capstone assignment and all of my coursework at CBU has better prepared me to help my students, my children, and even maybe shift my gear towards early childhood intervention. As my youngest son with special needs, we did have an IFSP and we have an IEP, and I have sat there in my home with the specialists who have come and been such a blessing to my family, and thought, well, maybe there's a pause for a reason, because there's a different direction God has for me. So who knows? And I'm sorry this video went a tiny bit over. So that is the summary of my capstone and my literature review for ECH 455, and I will attach it as well, and I hope you guys enjoy, and God bless. Thanks.